Hey everybody, it's Greg Rice. We're not in the bucket today.
Not in the bucket.
Where are we? We're on beautiful Lake Tioga on a wonderful fall afternoon, and we're here for the second time with Mr. Mike Clemente. Mike?
And Greg, thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Mike is a repeat customer here, but he's in his role today as president of New England Missing Children.com. Check him out on the web. And it's a nonprofit.
That's correct. And we're here basically to let people know the story about missing children in the United States, but specifically in New England, and to hopefully use this as a point of fundraiser to get money, because it does cost a lot of money to run a nonprofit, even though it's a nonprofit, for what we do for the parents of missing children and the support that we give them, as well as private investigators, search teams, dogs, drones. All these things cost money when you put into an act of looking for a missing, and not just missing. Every child that goes missing, whether they're 8 years old or they're 30 years old, they're still someone's child.
Correct.
So we don't just focus on under 21. We help all siblings, parents, guardians, or brothers or sisters that they have a missing person that went missing. We, up until the point that they are found, then it becomes obviously a cold case and an investigation where they'd actually have to hire us out and pay more expensive fees for the private investigation aspect of that.
But let's take a pause quick. When you, as a parent, have your child go missing, you're thinking of a million things. You're thinking of, should I go out there? What should I do? Should I call the police? Should I call an investigator? Should I go knock on doors? Bottom line is, you really should be leaning on the professionals. You should be leaning on the police. You should not be injecting yourself into what is an investigation, and the end result is your child is missing. So you don't want to compromise that, and it sounds contradictory because it's your kid. You want to find your kid. You want to make sure they're home safe. But what Mike is here today to talk about is that there's a process, there's a procedure, and a safe way and a professional way to accomplish that.
Well, yes, and you bring up a good point about going to the police. And I always say you have to go to the police first on any missing person, okay? However, the police are taxed today.
Correct.
They do not spend as much time as needed to look for a missing person, missing child. And I mean, I'm going to give you a prime example. Happened right here in this town about 2 weeks ago. A 14-year-old went missing. Okay, the mother contacted me on a Saturday night. I'm sorry, it's a Saturday night late, and she wanted us to get involved with the nonprofit. So we did everything immediately. Okay, we started checking information that she had on where the child might be. We found out that where the child was, and he was a runaway, but he's still missing. He's not just a runaway. And that's the point I want to bring across, especially to the police departments, because they handle them differently when they're a runaway. And they shouldn't. A 14-year-old is a 14-year-old kid, male or female, still missing. But the attitude that I got when I had called them, and what happened is the mom had called me. We started right away doing research. We found out that the people that this person ran away to were bad characters. Both the husband and wife were bad characters, and they had extensive criminal records. Okay, so the mom called me Sunday morning and told me that she had been there at the house
in Coventry, also.
In Coventry,
okay.
And she had saw her son in the window making faces and gestures and things like that. She called the local police station in Coventry. They came and responded. The kid was no longer in the window. He might have went out the back door, whatever the case may be. They do have a missing runaway report on him at the station, okay? At the time, she already had been filed missing on Friday night when he took off. So now she is telling the officers that her son is in the house and they don't see him. So they ask to enter the house. The mother and father of this other kid tell the police, "You're not coming in my house."
Wow.
Now they can't go in if someone doesn't let them in. If they don't see it, it didn't happen, basically.
Right.
Okay? So now the mother is upset, obviously, because her son is in that house. She doesn't want him in that house. And the police literally, from what the mother told me directly, told her that she had to leave or they were going to arrest her for disorderly conduct. Wow. This is and I understand the police's point of view here, but what I don't understand is when I called there Sunday morning after showing this kid's face around the neighborhood and all these people telling me that these are bad people and they were helping me out and they would call 911 if they saw the kid and they were walking by the house and they were driving by the house and we created a big kind of like flush out, get him to flush himself out, you know. I called the station, I told them, the desk sergeant on duty says, are you a private investigator? I said, yes, I am, 34 years. I said, this is a nonprofit. I explained to him, I said, I'm looking for this, 14-year-old missing. The mother had, requested our services last night. He goes, did you check into the police department? I said, no, I didn't. I said, I think looking for the 14-year-old is more important than me checking in with your department. And he said, well, you're supposed to. Not even caring about the situation, but more caring about me checking into their department,
right.
Which I really want to get this out there because that's not important at the time, okay? I have my credentials, okay?
Right.
So I said, and it's not a law, it's your policy,
right.
It's a courtesy, okay? And I didn't want to extend that courtesy at the time because time is of the essence when a child goes missing. Mm-hmm. And I said, we're looking for a missing 14-year-old. He says to me, he's not missing, he's a runaway. So that's the attitude that we get sometimes from police departments when someone runs away. And I want to get that out there. It's wrong. They're still missing. They're still someone's child. If your child and you're an officer went missing, you wouldn't consider them just a runaway. You'd have every cop out there that you know and every person you know looking for your kid. Mm-hmm. And it bothers me a lot that they do that, okay? And that's not the first incident, but let's talk about how this all started, if you don't mind, Greg.
Please.
So 2015, we started First Rapid Response Team for Missing Children. And that was basically to be the first line after they go to the police. Always want them to go to the police first. Whether they agree or disagree with the police, they should always do what the police says. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, they could always call one of the organizations out there. If you're not in New England, there's Faith with a Purpose and that handles the western part of the United States, and they do all over the United States as well, but they have resources more for that area. Mm-hmm. And there's Road Warriors, which is a motorcycle group out of California area in Utah, and they hang flyers and they go knock on doors and things like that. But what I want to stress is that you should never go knock on a door without a police officer there or let the PI that's not handling the case knock on a door because you never know what you're going to run into when you knock on someone's door. So I started NewEnglandMissingChildren.com as an offshoot of First Rapid Response Team for Missing Children. They're both domestic nonprofits in the state of Rhode Island. Mm-hmm. You can check them on the Secretary of State's website. Mm-hmm. And today we're here. We're looking for donations because we need money to fund NewEnglandMissingChildren.com. We need your help because without you, we can't do it. And so we set up a spot fund on that as well. But about us, let me just read to you. We're a team with some of the most skillful investigators, volunteers across the country to help find your child quickly. We have advocates that work with the family and support them as they go through this trying time. Mm-hmm. We will reach out to law enforcement, provide them with any of the information that can help locate your child. And we need your support and donations for copies, flyers, drones, resources, canoes in one case we need right now. Manpower in general, okay? We might have to hire a search team with divers, and then they don't do it for free, unfortunately. There's a lot of groups out there that will do it, but they need to get paid for the equipment they're using and things like that.
And a quick point on this topic that you brought up, the police departments are taxed with their time, right? They are focusing on important things like car accidents, traffics, and high crimes, assaults, robberies, burglaries. So a missing child is important, but it costs a lot of time. It costs a lot of resources.
Right.
And, you have to understand the police department runs on a budget just like a business does. So they have parameters and boundaries that they must abide by. And like you're talking about, hiring a dive team to maybe look for a clue that leads you to another clue, it's going to cost a lot of money. Right. So how much money, if you had to guess, would go into a normal investigation? Like, just to give the user, the consumer, the missing child's parent, an idea on what this costs.
Well, if you just take one specific child or one specific person that's missing, and you want to follow it all the way through to follow up leads and make sure the flyers are produced and make sure all the resources are covered, you're probably looking at a minimum of $2,000 per case, up to probably 10,000 or more, to be able to
thoroughly do this,
to thoroughly get it done and hopefully bring the person home. So because it is a lot of time, and if you're gonna do it like, you know, like we're volunteers in most cases, but for investigation part of it, we have to charge something. We don't charge our full rate, but we have to charge something. The challenge is the parents or the siblings, in most cases, don't have the resources to pay a private investigator. And that's why these nonprofits were created, to go to you and appeal to you out there to help us help these people who have missing children. Now we do have, work well with law enforcement. Anything that we find, we're going to turn over to law enforcement, especially in a missing child or a trafficking case, which I'm going to talk about in a little bit about the trafficking thing. New England Missing Children was created about 4 months ago. Okay, we desperately need your help. We have a vice president, Donna, who's been a longtime friend of mine for over 20 years. She's just outstanding in what she does in the research end of our business. NEMC is a group of volunteers that work with law enforcement to help find missing children in the New England area. We'd like to be nationwide, but we have to cover a specific area because of the fact there are so many missing just here alone in New England, and not talking about the rest of the country. So what do we need? We need to produce flyers. We have to perform online database searches sometimes, like I did in that Coventry case, to get information about where the child might be. Recently, I had a case in Nevada through Faith with a Purpose, the other organization, and we're able to locate the girl at a home there in North Las Vegas. Wow. And the police were able to go there, and they have different laws there, Greg. I don't know if you know that or not, but age of 15 years old, there is no kidnapping. There is no human trafficking. Right. If they go there voluntarily, the police can't go in. But she was returned safe, thank God. But I was able to run some background information, which cost us money. It costs just about $50 a search to do that.
Anything you do costs money.
$50 a search that that we have to pay for out of our pocket to be able to search to see who's living in this house. And then if you're going to run a plate, that's more money. And then if you're going to run another individual, that's more money. So the costs add up astronomically. And I've been funding this myself for the last 5 years from whatever case I work on for missing. Bringing in search teams and tracking dogs, private tracking dogs, okay? Fortunately in Rhode Island, we do have Rhode Island Search and Rescue, which do make their dogs available to the police department for cases. And they will have a training day sometimes where they will make it available to us. We just got authorized to use them on a case on that North Kingston man that went missing 4 years ago. We're going to be able to bring the dogs in there. It's been 4 years, okay? But the dogs will still be helpful in maybe finding something there, okay? Paying a private investigator when necessary. Drones, equipment like canoes or kayaks. You could name 1,000 things probably that we need. Office supplies, paper, copy paper, file folders, all that stuff costs money, okay? In order to run an efficient nonprofit, okay? And as you can imagine, the costs add up. Well, our staff receive no compensation and feel privileged to give freely of our time for this worthy cause. Your donations are crucial in taking care of these ongoing operation costs. But won't you please help us help these families? Donating what you can today. Go to NewEnglandMissingChildren.com. There is a link on there to a spot fund that's been created. Right now, we're seeking only $20,000 to get the ball rolling. We plan on having other fundraisers. But what I want to do is I want to talk about missing statistics, okay? And
we'll put these up on the screen as you talk about them.
Okay, so in 2022, the number of missing person files in the United States equaled how much? How many? They're putting you on the spot.
500,000.
Right on time. 546,568 cases.
Divided by 50 states, so not saying equal, but roughly 10,000 people per state per year, which divided by the year.
Which California, Texas, and
bigger.
Las Vegas has a lot too, okay.
But then you divide that 10,000 by 365 days, that's like 30 people a day.
It's like
per state.
Right. It's like one every 42 seconds or something like that. A child goes missing. It used to be anyway when it was 800,000. It's probably like one every 2 minutes now that a person goes missing. This is the lowest number since 1990. And remember, 1990, we didn't have Facebook, we didn't have internet. Now it gets out there quicker. But in 1990, that number was like over 1 million a year. Okay. Figures prior to 2022 were taken from a previous report. Okay, so according to the National Missing and Identified Persons Database, which is funded by the U.S. Department of Justice, more than 600,000 people go missing annually. Approximately 4,400 unidentified bodies are recovered each year, and nationwide there are roughly 6.5 missing persons for every 100,000 people. People don't understand the numbers, and I want to get the numbers out there because this is a true reason to give to New England missing children so we can help in this area here. 172,000 males went missing in 2022 under the age of 21. 209 females went missing in 2022 under the age of 21. 102,000 males went missing over 21. And 64,000 females went missing over the age of 21 in 2022. In 2017 to 2020, human trafficking accounted for 34,000 of those missing. So it's a big number if you think about the 34,000.
And these are children that are going into
human sex slaves. Exactly. Right. So now most trafficking victims aren't physically forced. A lot of people have the indication of someone getting grabbed, thrown in a van, the back of a van, and the van taken off, and they end up in some dungeon or whatever.
Right.
That's not the way it works. How it works is that someone in your junior high school, or your children's high school, is being paid to enlist these people, almost like a gang, and showing them photographs of people with gold jewelry and new sneakers and cell phone, and they go after the needy and the vulnerable, the people who are coming from broken homes or in foster homes. They know they're easy targets to lure them into that world, and then they have someone that maybe is older, more sophisticated, invite them out, get them high, get them alcohol, get them into that lifestyle slowly and gradually. Most of the time it's multiple victims.
So you're saying it's more of a psychological servitude that these people have.
Oh, absolutely. And they get them from drug rehabs, or they just got out of prison and they need a job.
A place to stay.
They need a place to stay. And the majority of the time, it's multiple victims that these people do this are conducting a business. And if you can mow one, you can mow 10. So where you make your most money, right? We've had kids that literally vanish across state lines that might end up in a hotel where the perpetual might rape her or him and might immediately put them on the street. The other thing I want to talk about is one case we had in Lincoln about maybe 2017 or 18, I think it was. Originally what happened was just like I talked about. They infiltrated the school with friends. She became friends with those friends. She was in a house. She was a child of many. And maybe she wasn't getting the attention. She didn't have a cell phone. So they bought her a cell phone to start. Then they bought her the things she wanted. Then they ended up at 2:30 in the morning picking her up, told her to grab her clothes and they'll meet you on your street. They picked her up in an SUV. Fortunately for her, she made a phone call the next day, and her mom called me and said she just called me from this number. Because of the research that we do, that we have to pay for, we ran the phone number and was able to get the address where the phone was listed to. I went there with the Providence Police Department. We were able to look at the video to see her leave that particular store and walk and take a left down toward Douglas Street actually. And we don't know if she got in a car or not. But Providence Police ended up putting a bolo up. So be on the lookout for. They ended up, I called her mom and told her what had happened. Her mom called me back about 35 minutes later and said, she's here right now. And she's trying to grab the phone away from me. And this girl had a history of kind of assaulting her mom. She was a big girl at 14. So I called the local police department and they went over there and she ended up going to Butler and getting straightened out. She
was home safe.
But Homeland Security went to talk to her and some local police departments and found out where she was not a good place. She was able to escape where she said they had AK-47s, they had mattresses or beds or in the rooms or whatever with multiple girls there that couldn't get out. Okay? And that's the thing you have to realize is once you get into the situation, you are trapped. So let's talk about some tips for parents because I think that's crucial. Take a photo of your child every day before they go to school. You have it in your phone what they had on.
Interesting.
At the end of the day, you can delete the photo. The next day, take another one. Because the police are going to need that information right away as soon as that child goes missing. So you don't have to go digging through Facebook to look for photos. You have it on your phone.
Or just a quick idea, a lot of us have Ring cameras and doorbell cameras that record people coming in and out. So if you have one of those, you don't need to take a picture of your kid or forget to take a picture and have them wonder, like, why am I getting my picture taken every day? It could just be on the camera that they're walking
I think you should let the child know why you're taking the picture and let them know the world is not a safe place all the time.
Or you could do that.
And also, currently, check your children's phone, your computers, social media, and monitor it because too many parents don't know what their kids are doing. A lot of cases go to social media and they Snapchatting or whatever to their friends to go run away to their house like this other case, okay? So if you know, and if you have all the IDs, you can check the Snapchat and the TikTok. Because I gotta tell you, these Snapchat, Facebook, and TikTok, they're not that cooperative with law enforcement. They have to get an administrative warrant to get that information, which makes no sense to me because it says on your disclaimer, if you're over 13, you can have an account. Well, if you're over 13, then the mother should be able to get into your account without having to get a subpoena or the police should be able to. But they can't because it's a world of red tape. Okay? I'm sorry, I get a little excited about that.
That's what we're here for.
Put a location app on their phone so you know where they are all the time. Do not extend all the trust in the world. As a parent, you have a license to snoop. You have a license to go through their drawers and go through their information and check their notebooks and everything because you're one that's sitting back there saying, oh, this is never going to happen to me because my kid goes to church, blah, 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 blah. It'll happen because peer pressure will make it happen.
Correct.
And enticement will make it happen because people will offer them something that you're not giving them even though you don't know you're giving them. You can give them all the love in the world, all the things in the world, but they're missing something. They're going to get it from one of these traffickers that are going to be able to see the need and fill the need and then take the kid. And that's the way it works. Do not. We just had a case recently and I'm just bewildered by this whole thing with a parent the night before the girl ran away. This was out in Kentucky way for Faith with a Purpose. The night before the girl ran away, the parent took the cell phone from the kid. So now you have no ability to track the cell phone when they go missing. What police normally do is they will ping the phone.
Yeah.
These phones can be pinged for location, but if they don't have it, it does no good. But what you can do, look for new cell phone packages or gift boxes in your child's room to see if they might be being trafficked. And this goes for boys as well as girls because boys are being trafficked just as much as girls are. Unfortunately, there is a lot of crazy sexual desires out there from people who have these perverted I want to be with a 10-year-old boy, or, it's crazy. Be aware who their friends are. Always know who is giving them a ride. Make sure the parents are okay too. Don't be afraid to even call a PI and have a background check run on your kid's parents,
right?
Even if it's just to check the license or something, I had that years ago with my daughter, and she was getting a ride from some of her parents' friends, and I found out the guy didn't have a license, or the woman didn't have a license, and that didn't happen after that, So when a child goes missing or runs away, they're still missing. Have a photo ready. There was another case in West Warwick, I think it was like 2014, where a girl went away, she jumped out the window. And another thing too is when kids run away, they don't take things with them. They don't take, in this case here, she left without shoes, jumped out the window with just her stocking feet. They don't take money. They don't take their cell phone sometimes.
They just right now.
Exactly. And that's what you have to be aware of. If you have an argument with your child, make sure you go and check on them before the end of the night. Make sure they're okay. Because, kids will be kids, bottom line. But we want them to be safe at the same time. So when this girl ran away, let's say that she was a habitual runaway. She had done it multiple times. So the police department didn't necessarily take it as serious as they probably should have, okay? So anyway, the sad story is, the true story is she's alive and she's safe now. But what she went through that night and the following days was something that should have never happened. Two guys had gotten out of jail the day before or that day, saw her walking. They had a puppy in the car. They pulled over. She went to the puppy. They grabbed her in this case, took her to another state, repeatedly raped her, and then gave her money to come back on a bus. So these are things that happen locally here, not in California, not in Texas, here in the state of Rhode Island. So again, we need your help. doingthemissingchildren.com to hopefully not only to help and support the parents, but also to educate. I've been asked to speak at a church also recently about the missing children and what we do and stuff like that, to help these parents, give them tips, give them ideas, be a source to lean on if they have questions regarding that, things like that. So I think it's important to get the message out there.
Now, a little bit on topic, but off topic. When you think of missing persons, you don't think of it's close to home, like you just said. Mm-hmm. But recently there was a case in Warwick that piqued my interest because I kept hearing about it on the news. It was Charlotte Lester in Warwick. Now that was an interesting case because she was in her late 40s, I believe, early 50s. Yeah. Seemed like she was a normal, everyday person that we all run into. And as far as I know, she's missing and the case run cold.
It's just still an open case as far as I know.
But how does that happen in 2023 with an adult, with somebody that has a home, that has a job, that has family? How does somebody evaporate in today's day and age, is my question.
Well, I'm sure she didn't evaporate. I'm sure that she's somewhere. But it can happen. I mean, just like Michael Sinat in North Kingston right now, 4 years, no body, what happened to him that night, and on June 14th of 2019? What happened to him from the time that he was last seen to now? What happened to him? Mm-hmm. These are questions. This is where a private investigator comes into play as well. Because again, the police department did a great job on this case here, and they've done a lot of, initially, did a lot of things that they were supposed to do. But as any police department out there, there's things that sometimes they miss. And again, it's because of the time and the resources and the everyday. For me, when a child goes missing and I have a missing person case, I can't sleep at night. Right. I'm thinking constantly about the case. I'm thinking constantly about leads, a possibility of what could have happened. I'm sure that in most cases they don't do that because they have so many cases.
It's just the
and it's an everyday job for them.
Right.
But to doingthemissingchildren.com and our volunteers, we take this to heart, and we take this as almost as if it was our own child. And what would we want the investigation to entail, rather than what it does entail in the beginning, and not miss any, not skip a beat, not miss any information at all. Because I think it's important that you take it seriously. A runaway is still a missing child. And that's the problem we have in society, is because the age, he's 14. He's 14, he's still a kid. When I was 14, I had to be home when the streetlights went on. Right. Or I got a shellacking, you know? Or I got the, yeah, exactly. I didn't get the wooden spoon, I got the broom.
Oh, I got the wooden spoon.
I got the broom, or I got the, I'm going to tell you Bob.
Yes,
you know?
Yeah, ooh.
And my father coming up the stairs, you know? Boom, boom, boom.
King Kong.
Exactly. You know, so yeah, so don't be afraid to, like I said, to get into your child's life a little bit.
Yeah.
And so this doesn't happen. Because, you know, and I want to hear success stories of people who use those tips and it helps them too. And we want volunteers. We need volunteers. Go to that website and...
What can they do to volunteer? What would they do?
They can contact me directly.
No, but what would they do?
Hang flyers for us.
So they
in
would
certain
do
areas.
stuff that's time consuming and
Right.
but important.
Right, exactly. In other words,
require experience.
myself and any other private investigative agents that work with me, myself, the vice president, and other people that we delegate would be the ones knocking on doors where the police might have missed whatever or missed their investigation. We would take up that slack.
Cool.
Okay, but hanging flyers, sharing on social media. I see so many missing children and missing person flyers, and nobody seems to want to share them. This is important to locate them because they could be seen.
Right.
And, you know, you don't know. You don't know what's going to happen when your child walks out the door. Or even if they're 35 and they don't come back at night, you know. So I think it's important to get the message out there.
And how do they donate? If they want to donate, how do they do so?
Go to newenglandmissingchildren.com, and there's a link on there to a spot fund on the bottom of that page. And they can donate there. A spot fund has been set up, and it goes directly into the funds.
Awesome. And if they want to contact you?
401-365-3438, or you can send us an email at newenglandmissingchildren@gmail.com.
Awesome.
Or NEMC@newenglandmissingchildren.com.
So you'll do Rhode Island, Mass, Connecticut?
Not Connecticut, unfortunately.
New Hampshire, Vermont, Maine?
Yes.
Okay, no Connecticut.
And the reason why we don't do Connecticut is because they're kind of on the licensing of private investigators. So I could be a consultant on any case in the country, but I can't act as
a lead
investigator. Right. In New York, the same thing. And we also want to cover that part of the, I mean, I will, if somebody calls me to go into Connecticut for a missing child, you know, that is in danger or something, yeah, I will jump into that, okay, and be a consultant and help them in any way I can as well.
Good.
But we want to cover the New England states.
Awesome. So let's get Mike funded up to his goal of
$20,000 to start.
$20,000. That's nothing. That's minor, and that could potentially help. Who knows? If you like you said, $2,000 might be one case. You could potentially save 10 children right there. And if we all band together and put in $25, $50, right, you spend $50 buying drinks at the bar. And that doesn't do anybody any good. So you might as well kick in, do your community service, and also help somebody who's in desperate need, who can't afford to pay the costs out of pocket, and who just lost their child. Can you imagine that? So I am definitely going to jump on. Nexus will be jumping on to donate, and you should as well.
Very good. And we're going to have some other fundraisers also in the future.
Awesome. So again, Mike Clemente of newenglandmissingchildren.com. He's also a private investigator, as you know him. Also, he does all of our eviction work. That's how Mike and I became friends. So he's a man of many hats and many badges.
Correct.
Thank you.
Thank you, Greg.
And if you have any questions for me, put them in the comment field below. Once again, Greg Rice, not in the bucket.
We're going to say that. It's going to say not in the bucket.
We're here on Lake Towed in Coventry, Rhode Island.